Good morning to all of our media personals here today, and good morning to all of our viewers here in St. Lucia and the diaspora. We want to thank you for being here, and it is, again, I just want to say welcome. This morning, I must make it known that as members of the United Workers' Party, it is our responsibility to hold this government accountable. And so, in the interests of the people of this country, we are going to do just that. And the rest of the country must expect that's what we will do on their behalf. You know, for the last 3 years, we have had a government that have basically been deceptive, a government that have not honored its so-called covenant with the people of St. Lucia by placing them first. They have made them believe that everything is about them, but in the end, what we have seen is the giving away of our sovereignty through the GPH deal. We have also seen a number of mismanagement, rampant mismanagement in terms of CIP. Again, as opposition and as persons who the public expect us to speak on their behalf, we are going to do just that today. I also want to say that most of those topics will be covered by our Deputy Political Leader, Guy Joseph, and also by our PRO, Leonard Montoute. So to start off with, we will invite our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Leonard Montoute, to address you.
Good morning to members of the media. Good morning to viewers and listeners online. My name is Leonard Montoute, Public Relations Officer of the United Workers' Party. And this morning, I will speak a little on the CIP program of St. Lucia. I just want to, first of all, inform St. Lucians that our government, the government of St. Lucia, the government of the Philip J. Pierre administration, has allowed our CIP program to be shrouded in allegations of corruption. The St. Lucia CIP faces a lawsuit in the U.S. federal court for alleged illegal corrupt practices. The CEO of our CIP, Mr. McLeod Emmanuel, was named in the lawsuit under the RICO Act, that is the Racketeering, Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. CIP investor Caribbean Galaxy is alleged to be allowed to engage in the underselling of St. Lucian passports for only $65,000 as opposed to the legally set price of $100,000. This is alleged to be known by the St. Lucia government and to be allowed by our CIP program. Ladies and gentlemen, the seriousness of this situation is that this development puts St. Lucia in a very bad light in terms of St. Lucia's image and reputation, in terms of our national and regional security, which is put at risk, and devaluing and undermining our CIP program, and also puts St. Lucian citizens at risk of having the EU, the UK, and the US revoke our visa access to their countries. This lawsuit, which was filed by MSR Media, that is a film company that is an investor in the St. Kitts CIP program, is claiming that they have documents and also voice recordings of Mr. McLeod naming a St. Lucia high-ranking government official making claims to the effect that they are aware of the underpricing of St. Lucian passports. Now, this is a very serious claim that is being made here, a very serious charge. And my concern is that despite the many warnings the red flags raised by the opposition for almost 2 years now, the government of Saint Lucia has either ignored or blatantly denied the claims that were being made, and despite being given opportunities to preclude what is now taking place, we have found ourselves in this predicament of yet another scandal under the Philip J.P. administration, which can have serious implications not only for our program, the image of our country, our national security, but also for our visa access. Now, what does that mean to the average citizen of Saint Lucia? The average citizen of Saint Lucia, many of whom travel to the US either for shopping or visiting family, may face complications, may face difficulty should the United States decide to revoke our visa access to the US. The same applies to the UK and the rest of the EU. Now, many St. Lucians travel to and from Martinique for medical reasons, to visit family, for work, or for shopping. That too can be put at risk, that can be compromised by what is taking place right now. We are at a juncture now where our government must stop all the denials, all the clandestine activities, and come out openly to account to St. Lucians, as it is their responsibility, and let us know exactly what is happening, let us know exactly what the situation is, and what it is they are doing to reverse this unfortunate situation that St. Lucia finds itself in. I can already tell that this development, this new development, will tarnish our reputation. Already, we had warned against the risk of entertaining Russian and Iranian applications to our CIP program in light of the war in Ukraine, and that is a warning that came from us very early, knowing the sentiments of our allies, our friendly countries, who traditionally have worked with our governments and provided great assistance to our government, and whom we do trade with. We recognize that their displeasure, their discomfort with the situation with Russians and Iranians has implications for St. Lucia. They are concerned about the issue of terrorism. They are concerned about the issue of money laundering, and they had already expressed those concerns and issued warnings, which was heeded by some other OECS countries involved in the CIP program, but ignored by St. Lucia. We are saying that the government has to come out, come clean to the St. Lucian population, tell us which St. Lucian government official was involved in turning a blind eye to the current situation that we are being accused of, that is the illegal practice of underselling St. Lucian passports. Tell us whether or not they continue to process applications from Russians and Iranians, and make a categorical statement that St. Lucia will no longer engage in that practice. Tell us why it is that they ignored the warnings from MSR, and you would recall that MSR took to the media and actually invited government officials to come to the United States to meet with them so that they can show the evidence, the documents and recordings that they have of malpractices, of corrupt practices that were taking place in our CIP program. Had the government taken heed to that request, had they responded positively, we could have averted this embarrassing situation for our country, where we are now facing a lawsuit. Okay, and our CIP program is now in jeopardy of being devalued, being seen as a sham, our country being seen as a corrupt country, and our government officials in the international arena being looked upon as corrupt individuals. We as the opposition take no pleasure in this development because it has dire consequences for our country and our future. It has direct implications for the citizens of Saint Lucia in terms of the value of our passports and our access to visas from many countries that we do business with currently. So our government likewise should take this seriously and stop the games that they have been playing in the past, give meaning to their claims of being accountable and transparent, come out and let us know exactly what the situation is and do everything in their power to avoid the situation. If it means dismissing, taking action against officials of the CIP program who are engaged in malpractices or corrupt behavior as alleged, if it means dismissing government officials, government ministers who may be involved in aiding and abetting what is transpiring, they must do so immediately, at least to show that we as a country do not tolerate or engage in corrupt practices and illegal activities. So I call on the Prime Minister, Philip J. Pierre, to come out and make a statement on this serious matter and give St. Lucians the comfort that we need in terms of letting us know that it is not an all-out, wholesale government policy to put our program in this predicament and to jeopardize our country's passport and visa access in the manner that I suspect is happening currently. So I just want to say that we again raise the alarm for the good name of St. Lucia, for the image of our country, for our national security, and for the convenience of our citizens who depend, many of us, who depend on visa access to some of those countries involved, like the EU countries, the UK, and the United States. I will stop here for now. Should there be any questions at the end of the press conference, you may direct your questions on me. Thank you very much.
I want to thank Spider very much for informing you, the media personnel here, and also our listeners in terms of the deception and mismanagement that is currently happening in CIP. He also spoke of how this threatens the ability of St. Lucians, if this is not corrected, to be able to receive or get visas in their names, and something we are hoping will never happen. So, Mr. Prime Minister, once again, I want to reiterate what Leonard Montut has said, that you have to come out and address those concerns, because these are serious, serious allegations being leveled at you and your government. At this time, I want to call upon our Deputy Political Leader, Guy Joseph, who will speak a little bit on the GPH deal, and will give you some more information in terms of what we believe that the public and you, the media, need to know. With this said, we call on our Deputy Political Leader, Guy Joseph, to the forum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and pleasant day to all persons of the media and those following us in the diaspora on social media. Once again, as a responsible opposition party, the United Workers' Party is again calling on the government and the people of St. Lucia to pay attention to what is happening. Our information reveals that an MOU was signed on October 20th, 2022 between the Government of Saint Lucia and GPH, that's Global Port Holdings. It is almost 2 years, or to be more precise, maybe a year and 8 months, since this MOU was signed. And the opposition has been asking questions of the government for an extended period of time. I know the media has tried also, but there seemed to be no information forthcoming from the Office of the Prime Minister, from the Board of SLASPA, from the Ministry of Tourism, from Invest Saint Lucia, all these entities that are directly involved in this GPH arrangement. It is passing strange that information would be reaching us in snippets. And it is evident that there are persons within the present government who is not pleased with the arrangements of GPH and have decided to let information out, but in snippets, not giving too much at any one time. But at least the information I have received, I can conclude is credible. So SLASPA has a loan of 20.5 million EC dollars, which GPH has assumed the responsibility for this loan. But I will give you a breakdown of some of the things that GPH will be in charge of, or is now in charge of, because we saw the handing over ceremony happening in somewhat secrecy. So among the things that they are responsible for is security services in respect of users of the port. And that is to be done in consultation with the Port Police Department and SLASPA for the borders and the manning of the entrance to the gates at the port. Now, this is very broad and this is very vague. I have always known from the time SLASPA was established or the port is in operation, we have the port police who is responsible for manning the gates at the port and security. Now we are learning that there is going to be joint manning or security. So are we handing over part of the security services of our ports to a foreign entity in the company GPH? Because that is part of the MOU or the arrangement that they have entered into. And you know, when you have two sets of people doing security for the same thing, how the lines can get blurred, who is responsible for what. And I think that the Prime Minister, and who is also the Minister of National Security, has a responsibility to clarify the role of GPH in terms of manning the borders. Our security is at risk. So we need to know clearly what is the role of SLASPA, Port Police, and that of GPH. What was also very interesting is that stevedoring services will be under the control of GPH. And we know for all the years, even when we mechanized the operations of the port, when we moved from people having to hook chains to the containers in order to be lifted, and you went to those modernized cranes that can hook the container on its own, stevedoring services was still maintained at the port because there are a number of persons, that is what they have done for a living for decades at the port. We are now learning that stevedoring services will go under the control of GPH. Now, we are not clear which part of the services, because cargo is still supposed to be handled by SLASPA. Then, the hot topic of today, water. And St. Lucians have been challenged in a number of areas when it comes to water. But in this agreement, GPH will be the one providing water to the cruise ships. Now, I want all right-thinking St. Lucians to pay attention to what is being said here. And I want the government to come out and deny that this information is incorrect. So how can water services be provided by GPH? Will GPH be buying the water from Wasco at a reduced rate and resell it to the cruise ships at a higher rate, thereby making a profit on the water that Wasco really needs that profit? What is the arrangement? How can it be GPH to provide water for the cruise ships and not Wasco? Is GPH going to set up their own water plant in St. Lucia? And will GPH be given priority over the citizens of this country? And will cruise ships get water before the citizens of the north can get water? Given the discussion that is taking place, I go on quickly. Garbage collection and waste disposal will be that of the responsibility of GPH also. I don't know what that means. These are broad statements. I know $1.50 of the $6.50 being collected was going towards Solid Waste Management Authority. And when we go to the figures that we receive now, we would be receiving from GPH, then you would understand why we are in problems. Electricity provision will be that of GPH. Why not Lucilec? Isn't Lucilec the sole provider of electricity for sale in St. Lucia? You cannot even go and do anything because the agreement with Lucilec precludes anybody else from going and produce electricity for sale. So how can it be GPH to provide electricity? Then retail services, including food and beverage, duty-free, retail space, hospitality, managing all parking facilities at the port. All of these services that was provided, the duty-free is provided through Invest St. Lucia at Point Seraphim. All of this, food and beverage, so will GPH be the ones choosing the concessionaires who are going to operate there? Will they bring in their own concessionaires and get rid of the existing concessionaires? Now they have the redevelopment. Among the things they would be doing is the redevelopment of the vendors' arcade. They would also be removing the old customs building, and a finger pier will be built in front of the vendors' arcade. Now, given the discussions we are hearing taking place among the vendors and not being given contracts that they were accustomed to, or being given very short-term contracts, is that an indication that GPH, when they upgrade the vendors arcade, will say to our vendors they are no longer accepted in there? And remember, they have the responsibility for food and beverage, for all of the services that will be provided to the tourists. And I didn't go into the tendering, the speedboats that are going to be used. Everything will be under the control of GPH. Now, we also have some of the other information. The cruise passenger charge would then be increased at a rate no higher than U.S. Price Consumer Index in the case where there is a negative charge in the U.S. CPI. The cruise passenger charge will remain the same. And then it goes on to say, as the part of the concession agreement, Global Port Holdings, Saint Lucia Limited, will pay the government of Saint Lucia through SLASPA a concession of $1 per passenger. Now, Saint Lucians, we are making $6.50 US per passenger today. The government has entered into an agreement with GPH where we will only receive $1 per passenger. So that's where I come to the 20 million. At $6.50 and 750,000 passengers was the figures we had, the highest arrival in 2019. And if you go to 1 million passengers, which is what the mark is for the medium term, then you're already looking at, that would be 6.5 million US dollars. So in 2 years at that rate, you could pay the $20 million for the loan of SLASPA. I also got information revealing that the dollar that the government of Saint Lucia will receive will be for the first 7 years of the contract, and at the end of the 7 years it will go to $1.50. And if anybody want to deny the information, that is what I will make available to the media. They gave a formula that we need a mathematician. I will give copies to the media. That we will need a mathematician to work for us to tell us how to break down the formula that they have given. And Mr. Prime Minister, if you want to tell the people of Saint Lucia that the information I am giving is incorrect, I am giving the table that was given to me by people who are displeased from your own government of such a bad deal that has been made in the name of Saint Lucia. And in this formula, even when the fees go up to $12 per head, Saint Lucia will continue to get only $1 US. And then when it gets to a certain point, you are going to get a 30 cents increase. So if you go to the $1.50 and it goes past the $12, then you're going to get a 30 cents on another dollar. Now, at what point do we see the passenger pass-through or fees going past $12 in St. Lucia? And at what point do we see it passing 6 million passengers? Find out which country in this region, Cuba, Dominican Republic, find out which one accommodates 6 million passengers. So here we are with an arrangement with a government and a private entity where you have given away $6.50 for $1. And I've tried to break it down so that the average St. Lucian can understand. It is like having a child and you give them $6.50 and you say, I want you to go to the shop and buy something that you want with this $6.50. And the child comes back home and they bring back $1. And they said, I sold my $6.50 for $1. So here is the dollar that I have. This is what the Cabinet of Ministers and the Government of Saint Lucia has done. And they can go and quantify the works, because I have the entire list of works to be done by GPH. And GPH has a concession agreement for 30 years with an option to renew for another 10 years. So whatever GPH will build in St. Lucia after 40 years will need replacement. And anybody who knows what is built on the port, you remember when Concreto was here? How many years ago they were here? About 40 years ago. That's why the port need repairs. So GPH is going to use our money, repair the ports for them to use, receive all the benefits, and then leave us with a broken port that will need fixing. The government has actually sold, and the agreement goes on to say that the revenue guarantee for the government is $450,000 US. So you're giving away $4 million US for $450,000. That's the minimum revenue guarantee. In other words, if the number of passengers go below 450,000, they will still give the Government of Saint Lucia 450,000 US dollars. Saint Lucia, this is factual information that we have given. The government of Philip J. Pierre has sold out St. Lucia. This is the Prime Minister who said he will not burden St. Lucians with a loan for the airport, but could give away our ports and $400 million to a foreign entity. And I challenge the government to prove that what we have said at this press conference today is not true. And I would be happy to know that it is not true. But the fact remains that it is true. And St. Lucia will have to find a way to get out of this burden that Philip J. Pierre has placed on the people of St. Lucia. I thank you.
I want to thank Mr. Guy Joseph, our Deputy Political Leader, for his presentation. And I must make a statement here, which is, at the rate that we are going here in this country, and the manner in which we are learning that GPH will control security, water, garbage, electricity, and everything else, they may as well declare themselves the government of this country. Because if the government of this country holds no longer any rights to our sovereignty, and our sovereignty is in the hands of a company like GPH, then we may as well forget about the whole thing. I know that you may have questions, but I will read a statement on our 60th anniversary very quickly, because I believe it's something that we want you to know, and we want your listeners and our media personnel out there to share. And that is, the United Workers' Party is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. As part of the festivities, the UWP will host a community night with awards presentation on October 26, 2024. These awards will honor the founders of the party and also acknowledge the contributions from individuals within various constituencies as well as the diaspora. The awards celebrate the vision tenacity, creativity, loyalty, commitment, and compassion that have defined the United Workers' Party and its supporters over this past decade. The UWP is dedicated to acknowledging individuals who embody the qualities that have positioned it as the foremost party and in guiding the development of this country. So once again, this is going to happen on the October 26, 2004, and we're 2024, sorry, thank you. And we're inviting everyone, including the media, to be a part of what is happening here. So we'll open this session to any questions you may have. You can direct it to Leonard Montut Spider, or you can direct it to our Deputy Political Leader, Guy Joseph. And we hope that you can ask questions. We will take as many questions as you wish to have.
Just straying away a little bit from what we spoke about today, the new minimum wage that the government has implemented, $6.50 an hour, representing about 13,000 people. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think in this day and age of inflation that it is enough for the average person?
Okay, I will allow our Deputy Political Leader to address this.
Thank you very much. A minimum wage is always welcome. I believe that given our present circumstances in St. Lucia, that anytime we talk about minimum wage and an increase in wages for the lower level workers in St. Lucia, those on the lower end of the financial spectrum in St. Lucia, it's a good thing. But I think that $6.50 is way below what is adequate at this point in time, given the present circumstances. And we can just run through a series of things that have happened. The price of bread has almost doubled. The price of fuel is artificially high at $16.50. A tank of cooking gas is high. Every time you go to the grocery store, the prices are higher. We have seen with KFC, we have seen the 2.5% levy imposed by the government. So by the time you look at the $6.50 proposed by the government, it is more than that has been consumed. And like I said, we welcome any increase, but the $6.50 is way below where we have seen the cost of living going in St. Lucia. And so for this reason, I would say to the government, you need to go back to the drawing board, and you need to come much better than that. Because we have to look at the implications. Already a laborer in the construction industry is already working for $60 and $70 a day. And laborers in the construction industry is at the lowest level of payment. So are we understanding that the implications of this minimum wage can be negative for a lot of people in St. Lucia? Because employers can say, okay, there are many employers already paying more than what the government is offering. Can they dismiss these workers that they are paying at a higher price and employ workers that they can now begin at the minimum wage? What is the implication? So we saw a few years ago when SLP was in power, when laborers in the construction industry was already working for $60 and $65 a day, that the Labour Party had announced a wage within the sector of 55 EC dollars a day. And we saw rather than the prices going up, it was going down. So I believe that this is just an election gimmick by the government. This is not anything, because first of all, the government spoke about a livable wage. And all of a sudden, the discussion changed from a livable wage to a minimum wage. And I believe it is embarrassing for us to go to the parliament and pass a law where Dominica is $10, St. Kitts is about $9.50. In fact, the only country in the OECS that would have a lower minimum wage than us is St. Vincent, which is at $6.25. So I believe that if the government is serious about addressing this, we have to begin to speak about $8 or more per hour for minimum wage. Anything below that, I don't think is adequate.
Any further questions?
All right. Thank you very much. We wish to say thank you again from the bottom of our hearts, and thank you to all of you who are here representing your various television and radio stations. We hope that the information that was given today is passed on to your listeners, and they have the opportunity to understand the way in which this country is headed, the wayward manner in which this country is being governed, I should say, and the fact that we do need to hold this government continually accountable for its misdeeds and deception here in this country. And for those of you in St. Lucia and the diaspora who are tuned to our press conference this morning, I wish to say thank you once again. Thank you.